Sam lived in a small wooden cabin near a quiet forest. The cabin was simple and warm, with a stone fireplace and a table made from old boards. He had built the place with his own hands years ago, back when he still believed life would be loud and full. Now his days were calm and his nights were long, and the only sound he often heard was the wind brushing the trees. He was not a bad man and he was not cold inside. He just carried a tired feeling that stayed with him like an old coat. He had once worked in town fixing machines and helping neighbors, but after losing his mother he stepped away from people. He told himself the quiet was good, and most days he almost believed it. Still, when he looked at the empty chair near the fire, something inside him would tighten for a moment. That evening the air outside was sharp and pale, and snow lay on the ground like a soft sheet. Sam had made soup and a small pot of tea, then he sat by the fire and watched the flames. He thought about nothing important, only the simple rhythm of the day. He was about to stand up and wash his cup when a sound came from the front door. It was a light tapping that did not match the wind. It came again, steady and careful, like someone trying not to disturb him too much. Sam froze for a second because visitors were rare. He listened closely and heard another tap, then a quiet scrape as if paws shifted on the porch. He took a slow step toward the door, and his hand hovered near the latch. The cabin felt different all at once, as if the forest itself had leaned closer. He opened the door just enough to see what was there, and the cold air rushed in like a breath. A dog stood on the porch. She was medium-sized, thin, and covered in wet snow. Her belly was round and heavy, and her legs shook with effort. Her eyes were dark and tired, but they held a calm kind of request. She did not bark. She did not try to run inside. She only lifted one paw and tapped the wood again, gentle and patient. Sam stared because it did not feel real. He had seen dogs follow people, and he had seen stray cats hide under steps, but he had never seen an animal ask like this. The dog looked past him toward the fire, then back at his face. Her ears were lowered, not in fear but in exhaustion. Sam felt something move in his chest that had been asleep for a long time. He stepped back and opened the door wider. He spoke softly as if talking to someone fragile. He told her she could come in. The dog hesitated, then took one slow step forward. She paused again, and Sam noticed her breathing was quick. He also noticed her fur was tangled, and one side of her collar was torn. Sam knelt down and held out his hand. The dog moved her nose toward his fingers and smelled him. Her body was tense, but she did not pull away. After a moment she leaned forward and let her head rest briefly against his knee. That small trust hit Sam harder than he expected. He did not know her story, but he could feel that she had carried fear for too long. He guided her inside carefully. He closed the door and pushed a thick cloth against the crack to block the cold. The dog stood near the entrance and looked around, unsure. Sam brought an old blanket from the corner and spread it near the fire. He poured a little warm water into a bowl, then added some plain food he kept for stray animals, because he always had a habit of being prepared even when he lived alone. The dog lowered her head and ate slowly. She paused often, like her stomach wanted the food but her body was still on alert. Sam sat nearby, not too close, and watched with quiet care. He noticed small things, like the way her paws were sore and how her nails were worn down. He noticed how she kept turning her head toward the door as if she expected someone to follow. When she finished eating, she let out a long breath and finally lay down on the blanket. Her belly rose and fell, and her eyes began to close. Sam added another piece of wood to the fire and listened to the crackle. The warmth filled the cabin, and the smell of soup mixed with pine from the logs. For the first time in months, the room felt like it had a purpose. Sam looked at the dog more closely now that she was calmer. Her collar had a faded tag, and the metal had scratches on it. He reached slowly and touched the tag with 2 fingers. The dog opened one eye but did not move away. Sam turned the tag just enough to read the back. There was no phone number, no neat address, and no clear name. There was only one word carved in uneven letters, like someone had done it in a hurry. It said cabin. Sam felt a strange chill that had nothing to do with winter. He read it again to make sure he was not imagining it. The word was real. The dog shifted and let out a soft sound, and Sam stopped moving his hand. He watched her belly, and he realized she was close to having her puppies. Her sides tightened once, then relaxed. He stood up and searched through a small box where he kept basic supplies. He found clean cloth, a small flashlight, and an old notebook. He had helped a neighbor once when a farm dog had puppies, and he remembered enough to stay calm. He told himself this was simple, and he could do it. Still, he could not stop thinking about that single word on the tag. Sam walked to the window and looked outside. The forest was dark and still, and the snow reflected the moonlight. Nothing moved near the porch. No footsteps appeared on the path. It felt as if the dog had come from nowhere, guided only by need and instinct. He returned to the fire and sat down again. The dog watched him now with heavy eyes. Sam spoke softly, as if his voice could build a bridge between them. He told her she was safe here. He told her the fire would stay on all night. He told her she did not have to knock anymore. The dog blinked slowly and rested her head on the blanket. A low sound came from her throat, not loud, more like a tired hum. Sam took it as a sign of comfort. He stayed near her, watching and listening, because he could not imagine leaving her alone. Minutes passed, then more. The cabin settled into a quiet rhythm. The fire popped softly, and the wind pressed against the walls. Then the dog suddenly lifted her head. Her ears turned toward the door, and her body stiffened. She stood up slowly, as if a new wave of energy had pushed her forward. She walked to the door and tapped it again with her paw. She did it once, then twice, not panicked but urgent. Sam stood up quickly, confused. He opened the door just a little, and cold air rushed inside again. The dog looked out into the dark, then looked back at Sam, and her eyes held a clear message. She did not want to leave. She wanted him to follow. Sam's heart beat faster as he grabbed his coat from the hook. He looked down at the dog and saw she was not asking for more warmth or more food. She was asking for help beyond this cabin. Sam stepped onto the porch, and snow crunched under his boots. The dog moved forward slowly, leading him toward the tree line. She kept glancing back to make sure he was behind her. The forest ahead was dark and wide, and Sam felt a mix of fear and purpose. He did not know what waited out there, but he knew one thing clearly. He could not ignore a knock like that, and he could not turn away now. The snow softly crunched under his boots. The trees stood tall and dark on both sides, and the narrow path ahead looked quiet and deep. The dog walked slowly but with purpose, and she kept looking back to make sure Sam was still behind her. Her round belly moved gently with every step, and her breath made small clouds in the cold air. The forest felt different at night because every sound seemed louder and every shadow looked longer. Sam held a small light in one hand and kept the other close to his chest as he walked. He did not feel scared of the dog, but he felt unsure about what she was leading him to. Still, something inside him told him this walk was important and that turning back would not feel right. After some time, the trees opened into a small clearing, and in the middle of it stood a broken old cabin. The roof had a wide hole and the walls were leaning as if they were tired. Snow covered the ground around it, but there were many small paw marks leading toward the door. The dog stopped and looked at Sam with soft eyes as if to say this was the place. Sam walked closer and could hear faint sounds coming from inside. They were not loud, but they were filled with worry and need. The dog moved toward the door of the broken cabin and pushed it open with her nose. Sam followed, and his heart felt heavy when he saw what was inside. Two small dogs lay on a thin cloth near the wall. They were young and weak, and their fur was thin. Their eyes were open but dull, and they barely moved. It was clear they had been alone for too long. The pregnant dog walked toward them and lowered her head to touch them gently. They lifted their heads just a little, as if they knew her. Sam knelt beside them and felt a deep sadness. He could see they were hungry and cold. He did not know how they had survived this long. He looked at the pregnant dog and then at the pups, and he finally understood why she had knocked on his door. She had not come for herself only. She had come for her family. Sam carefully picked up one of the small dogs and held it close to his chest to give it warmth. He wrapped it in his coat and then did the same with the other. The pregnant dog watched him with a look that was full of quiet hope. Sam did not speak, but he nodded, as if promising something. The walk back felt longer even though they moved faster. Sam carried the two small dogs and the pregnant dog stayed close to his side. The forest no longer felt empty but full of quiet care. Sam kept his light steady and his steps careful. He knew every moment mattered. When they reached the cabin, Sam opened the door quickly and rushed inside. He placed the small dogs near the fire and wrapped them in warm blankets. Their tiny bodies slowly began to relax. The pregnant dog walked over and lay beside them. Her eyes never left their faces. Sam brought out food and water and gently helped the small dogs take a few bites. They were weak, but they tried. The fire warmed the room and the cabin felt alive in a way it had not felt in years. Sam sat on the floor with them and watched every small movement. As time passed, the pregnant dog began to shift and breathe more deeply. Sam noticed her body tightening and relaxing. He realized she was close to having her pups. He stayed calm and moved slowly to prepare. He laid out clean cloth and kept the room warm. The pregnant dog looked at him and there was no fear in her eyes. There was only trust. Sam felt something inside him grow stronger. He had been alone for so long that he had forgotten what it felt like to be needed. Now this small family depended on him. Outside the snow kept falling and the wind kept blowing, but inside the cabin a new story was beginning. The small dogs slept close to their mother and Sam watched over them. He knew that whatever happened next would change his life forever. The fire burned steady and warm as the night grew deeper and the cabin filled with quiet hope. The night inside the cabin grew quiet and warm as the fire kept burning with a soft, steady glow. The pregnant dog lay on the clean cloth near the fire, and her breathing became slow and deep. The two small dogs rested close to her, and their tiny bodies rose and fell in a gentle rhythm. Sam sat nearby watching every movement and keeping the room calm and peaceful. A soft sound came from the pregnant dog as her body shifted again. Sam knew that something important was about to happen. He moved closer and stayed low so he would not frighten her. His hands were steady even though his heart was beating fast. He had never felt this responsible for another life before. The dog looked at him with eyes that were filled with both tiredness and trust. She did not try to move away. Instead she stayed where she was and let out another soft sound. Sam whispered gentle words to her and kept the fire warm. The cabin felt small but full of care. Soon the room filled with quiet movement. The pregnant dog breathed deeply and slowly, and then something new entered the world. A tiny puppy lay on the cloth and made a small sound. Sam felt his chest tighten as he saw the little one move. The mother leaned forward and gently cleaned the puppy. More time passed and another small puppy arrived. Then, another. Each one was small and weak but full of life. Sam watched with wonder and respect. He made sure everything stayed clean and warm. The two older pups lifted their heads and watched their new family grow. The mother dog stayed strong even though she was tired. Her eyes showed care for every small life beside her. Sam felt a deep respect for her. He realized that she had walked through snow and fear just to keep her family alive. When the last puppy was born, the mother finally relaxed. She lay down and gathered all the pups close to her body. They moved slowly and made small sounds as they found warmth and comfort. Sam sat back and took a long breath. The cabin was filled with quiet life and soft warmth. As the hours passed, Sam stayed awake. He made sure the fire stayed strong and the room stayed warm. He watched the small family with a gentle smile. He had lived many quiet days alone, but now the silence felt different. It felt full instead of empty. When morning came, a soft light filled the cabin. The snow outside glowed pale and calm. Sam looked at the dogs and saw that they were resting peacefully. The mother dog opened her eyes and looked at him. There was something new in her gaze. It was not only thanks. It was belonging. Sam went outside to bring in more wood. The cold air felt sharp, but it did not bother him. His heart felt lighter than it had in years. He realized that helping this small family had changed something inside him. When he returned, the pups were moving gently, and the two older ones were trying to stay close. Sam prepared more food and water. He worked slowly and carefully. He did not want to disturb the quiet care in the room. Days began to pass in a gentle rhythm. Sam cleaned the cabin and made it safe for the pups. He spoke to them softly and watched them grow a little stronger each day. The mother dog stayed close to him and followed him around the room. The forest outside no longer felt lonely. It felt like a place that had led this family to the right door. Sam thought about the night the dog had knocked. He felt grateful that he had listened. The cabin was no longer just a place to hide from the world. It had become a home filled with life and quiet joy. Sam did not know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing for sure. He was no longer alone, and neither were the dogs. The weeks after the puppies were born passed slowly and gently inside the warm cabin. The fire kept burning each day, and the soft sounds of small paws filled the room. The puppies grew stronger, and their eyes opened wider with every sunrise. The mother dog watched over them with care and calm, and Sam stayed close to help whenever he could. Sam cleaned the floor and washed the cloth where the puppies rested, and he made sure they were always warm. He brought fresh water and food every morning and spoke to them in a soft voice. The puppies began to move around the room with small clumsy steps, and they often bumped into each other. Their playful sounds made the cabin feel bright and full. The two older pups that Sam had found in the broken cabin also began to change. They gained strength, and their fur became softer and thicker. They followed Sam around the room and stayed near the mother dog whenever she lay down. They were no longer weak and tired. They were part of a growing family. The mother dog spent most of her time resting and caring for the little ones. She trusted Sam completely now. When he came close, she did not move away. Instead, she watched him with gentle eyes. Sam felt proud of her and grateful for the chance to help. One morning, Sam opened the door and saw that the snow had started to melt. The forest looked fresh and clean. Sunlight touched the trees and the air felt new. Sam realized that spring was coming, and with it a new chapter for all of them. He decided to fix the old broken cabin in the clearing. He did not want any other animals to suffer there. He brought tools and wood and spent days working. The mother dog and her pups watched from the porch of the main cabin. They stayed close as if they wanted to see what he was doing. When the broken cabin was safe again, Sam felt a deep sense of peace. He had not only saved a family, but also a place that had once been full of pain. The forest felt kinder now. As the days went by, Sam began to walk with the dogs along the edge of the trees. The pups learned to move through the grass and feel the ground under their paws. The mother dog walked proudly beside them. Sam felt like he was part of something larger than himself. One evening, Sam sat outside and watched the sunset. The sky was soft and warm. The dogs lay near him and the puppies slept in a small group. Sam thought about how different his life was now. He no longer felt the empty quiet that once filled his heart. He realized that when the pregnant dog had knocked on his door, she had not only asked for help. She had given him a new purpose. She had brought light into his lonely world. The cabin was now a place of warmth and care. The fire burned bright, and the walls held the sound of gentle life. Sam smiled as he watched the pups grow and explore. The forest that once felt cold now felt like a home. The dogs and Sam shared a bond that was strong and simple. They had saved each other in their own way. And so the story of the knock on the cabin door became the story of a family that found safety and love in the quiet of the woods.